This video is sponsored by Squarespace. So this is the iPhone 14. But what the iPhone 14 really is, in all honesty, is just an iPhone 13s. Now, don't get me wrong, the upgraded camera system is really nice and welcome for the cheapest entry for the iPhone 14 series, especially with their new photonic engine that gives the iPhone 14 a boost in photo quality. But it's still using the A15 Bionic processor from last year, which, if you really wanted something that's completely new, you'll have to look into getting the 14 Pro with that A16 processor. But let me tell you why the iPhone 14, in my opinion, isn't worth the upgrade, and what you should probably look into instead if you want to get the best bang for your buck. Okay, so like any of the reviews that I've done on this channel, let's quickly talk about the iPhone 14 specs real quick. This is the regular 14, by the way. The iPhone 14 is using Apple's A15 processor from last year, but with a 5-core GPU. It's extremely fast, and there's no doubt that Apple's ahead of the game here when it comes to performance. As for the RAM, you're getting 6 gigs of RAM and up to 512 gigs of storage. And as for the cameras, you're getting the same sensors from the 13 Pro with a 12 megapixel main camera with a sensor shift OIS and a 12 megapixel ultra wide. The front-facing camera though now supports autofocus and an aperture of f1.9, which will give you better low light performance, 2 times to be exact. Alright, so now that we've covered the basic, let's quickly talk about my experience with the device. Now, I haven't spent too much time with the 14, so battery life is just based on the few days that I got to use it, but I will say that battery life was pretty comparable to my outgoing iPhone 13 Pro. With my kind of usage, someone who's always on social like TikTok or Instagram, doing emails and doing a ton of texting, I can easily drive this down to 20% by the end of my workday, which is around 6 p.m., which means if I want to go out past 6 p.m., I have to charge this phone. Now, in terms of overall performance, the iPhone 14 is great. Just like any brand new iPhone, it's blazing fast, and it's definitely something that you'll notice coming from an older iPhone like the 10 or the iPhone 11. Apps will load just a bit quicker thanks to the added RAM, and switching between apps is better than ever. And gaming on the 14 is amazing with no noticeable drop frames or stutter. I was actually able to play games on this for, about half an hour and didn't notice it heat up or warm up like some other flagships in the market. But this also depends in the climate that you're in. Now, as for the display, this did not change from the 13. It's the same screen. It's their Super Retina XDR display, which is a 6.1-inch OLED display with 800 nits of brightness, or 1200 nits if you're watching HDR content. It's not as bright as my outgoing 13 Pro, but still a beautiful display. Now, one thing I will say about the 14's display though is that they should really upgrade the refresh rate. iPhone SE, I can understand it having 60 Hz, but iPhone 14 should have at least 90 Hz to give users a much smoother experience, but that's just me though. Now, what also stayed the same is the design. This is exactly the same 13 that we know and love. However, in the US, you don't have a physical SIM tray, which is a debate for another video. But yeah, there's a new purple color, and there's also this blue color, which looks amazing and kind of reminds me of the iPhone 13 Pro Sierra Blue, which is my favorite iPhone color so far. But yeah, the glass back is the same with MagSafe capabilities. The sides are still aluminum, which is a bit of a downgrade from my 13 Pro stainless steel, but at least it's not plastic. So build quality, in my opinion, superb. Hey, let me take a quick second to thank our sponsor, Squarespace. Squarespace is an all-in-one platform to present your work or portfolio online. I partnered up with Squarespace after years of using their service so that I can have a premium looking website where people can see some of the work that I've done in the past, but it's also a way for brands or clients to reach out and work with me. Now, what's cool about Squarespace is that you can build a website from scratch or use Squarespace's amazing selection of templates. They have a ton that you can choose from, whether you want your website to be mainly for, photography, or maybe you want to set up an online store or maybe a tech blog. Designing your website is super easy with Squarespace, and you don't need to know how to code, which is probably the best part of using Squarespace. Now, for my website alone, it took me an hour tops to get it all up and running, and I didn't write a single code. But like I said in the beginning, what I really like the most is that once you have your website all built out, it'll automatically resize your website to be more mobile friendly, so you don't have to do all of the hard work optimizing for both desktop and mobile and tablets. We're on our phones more and more, so having my website automatically optimized for mobile is a great feature and one that I really appreciate. If you've been wanting to build your dream website, make sure to check out the first link down below and check out Squarespace. You can get a free trial and 10% off by using the first link in the description, or go to squarespace.com/markel. Again, special thanks to Squarespace for sponsoring a portion of this video. Okay, so the cameras. Like I said in the beginning, Apple actually took the same camera sensor from the 13 Pro, but Apple decided to take out the telephoto lens from that phone and just kept the main camera and the ultra wide. So the main camera now has sensor shift OIS, which makes a pretty big difference in low light shots. This will basically stop triggering night mode so you can take a normal shot without having, to stand still for a couple of seconds or use the flash. Ultra-wide is similar, however, Apple has this new photonic engine for the 14 series, which basically merges the best pixels from multiple exposures at an earlier stage before you tap the shutter button. And this is going to preserve more image data to give you a brighter, more lifelike colors and detailed textures even in lower lighting conditions. Now, as someone who's been using the iPhone 13 Pro, this isn't all that new to me, but if you're watching this and you have, an iPhone 12 or an older device, then all of this camera goodness, this is gonna be leaps and bounds better than your current camera for sure. In terms of photo quality, iPhone's, in my opinion, is still a top 3 in my books, not for its zoom capabilities, but its photo quality is really good, especially in great lighting. The clarity, the accurate colors, the skin tones, the smart HDR4, and all the processing it does behind the scenes are really well thought out, and the final image that I can get from this phone just looks really good. In low light though, I never really found iPhone photos, even the 13 Pro, to be all that great, especially, after reviewing super high-end Android flagships like the Xiaomi 12S Ultra with a 1-inch sensor. I just think that the 14 is decent in low light. It's not terrible, but the processing and how it handles highlights and the shadows, in my opinion, could look better. Now, the flash has also been upgraded slightly to where it doesn't look as harsh as before. It's more of a softer fill light with the 14 series, which is great if you like to use, flash for photos instead of night mode. Now, the 14 series can also do 4K cinematic mode in both 24 frames per second and 30 frames per second now. I'm not exactly sure why the 13 Pro doesn't have 4K cinematic mode. It's still capped at 1080p, but this is an iPhone 14 series exclusive. But what's also an exclusive to the 14 series is this new action mode, which I thought was only available for the 14 Pro, but you do have this on the regular 14, which is cool. But what I didn't know until I enabled it is that the resolution will drop down to 2.8K from 4K, so that software can crop in on that 4K mode and stabilize the footage. For a handheld running shot, the samples we were able to get were pretty impressive. Is it perfect? No. Is it any good? Depends on what you're looking for. But for sports or videos of your kids or dogs running around, this is a really good feature to have for sure. Okay, so to wrap up this review, here's why I think the iPhone 14 isn't worth the upgrade. The iPhone 14, in all honesty, doesn't feel like a significant upgrade over the 13, and you might feel the same way. The regular 13 didn't have terrible cameras, nor was it slow. Apple actually still sells the iPhone 13 and 13 mini alongside the new 14 series, so if you're looking to buy brand new, the 13, in my opinion, is still the better bang for the buck here. It has the same processor to an extent where performance is only about a 2 to 3% difference from the 13 to the 14. The displays are the same, the build quality is the same, and where you'll actually see the biggest difference is in that main wide camera. You'll get a bigger sensor which allows for more light to come in, which means improved low light photos. You'll also get sensor shift OIS, so your shots are less blurry. And you won't get action mode or 4K cinematic mode. And also the improved front-facing cameras that now autofocuses. Now, if you're okay buying used or refurbished and you can find a good one or a similarly priced one, I would actually suggest buying the 13 Pro instead. You get the same exact camera as the 14, plus you get the 3x telephoto lens, you get the same processor as the 14 with the same amount of RAM and GPU cores, you'll get a much better looking display that's brighter and features ProMotion 120Hz. However, you won't get 4K cinematic mode or action mode here, but like I said about the camera system on the iPhone 14, since it's basically the 13 Pro, the 13 Pro can give you similar looking photos and videos as the iPhone 14. Plus, having 120Hz ProMotion is a game changer and looks so much better than the 60Hz panel on the 14. Anyways, that's it for this iPhone 14 review. I am still working on the 14 Pro videos, so make sure to subscribe and turn on that notification bell so you don't miss out on that one. And yeah, I'll see you all in the next one.